Good afternoon, everyone. So this recording is going to address the final PPE report, the workflow analysis section, okay? So what you're seeing right here is the PPE manual on our site and the final PPE report instructions. So I'm just going to scroll down here till I get to that. Oh, there it is. Okay, so I'm just going to walk you through this, all right? Make sure that you read the introduction and the overall instructions for this assignment, okay? I'm not going to take the time right now to do that, but what you want to do is while you're at the site, you want to current as-is process at the PPE site, okay? Note that I have a process definition here. It's a collection of interrelated work tasks in response to an event that achieves a specific result for a customer. And you don't want to confuse a process with a function, which is an occupation or department that concentrates related activities and similar skills. So I'm going to tell you kind of the difference here. So for example, the workflow analysis example I'm going to use for this presentation is the workflow diagram or process of continuity of care release of information requests. Okay, so it's a very specific workflow within an overarching occupation or department of release of information. Okay, so that would be much too big, doing like all release of information, because that is technically like a little department, or it is definitely an occupation. Okay, and so drill down to just one aspect of that role or those activities in terms of this assignment. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Then what you're going to do is, so for my example, I'm doing just continuity of care, release of information requests. So for those of you that haven't worked in health information management before, we consider continuity of care to be those records that are being requested by a patient or another provider in order to continue caring for the patient. So I'm at the clinic and my doctor needs my records from the dermatologist I saw last week. They would submit a request to get those records, and that is considered continuity of care. Okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to conduct an interview and observe the people doing the process to really determine the details involved. So somebody that processes continuity of care ROI requests, okay? During the interview or interviews, you're going to identify the ways the process can vary. So you want to observe 3 to 5 different episodes of the process for each major way it can vary, okay? So maybe they handle, for this example, maybe they handle the requests from providers differently than they handle requests from patients, okay? And then you're going to want to record the details that you observe. And then once you kind of have it down on all the different ways that it can be handled, you want to develop a workflow diagram for that as-is process, okay? This is not the future state, it's the current state, okay? And you want that diagram to identify the who, what, and when, okay? And it should also identify the steps and activities involved in the process, who completes each step, the technology and/or resources used, the policies and rules that determine the who, what, why, when, where, how each step is executed, the supervision involved, what other people might be involved in this process. Maybe there's other departments or other individuals within the HIM department, and then what information is needed to complete each step in the process, okay? And then so a couple of things about that workflow. You want to look at maybe some examples that are in the Oaks and Waters text. I'm guessing that you've likely used workflow diagrams in other HIM classes or CIS classes. And so, you know, you can use free applications out there like Kaku or Lucidchart, or definitely use MS Office applications to develop your workflow diagram. And then also make sure that you're using appropriate symbols within that workflow diagram. Okay, and I have a link here to some of those examples to show you and to make sure that you're doing each step correctly. All right. The next step is you want to analyze that current state. okay? So you're going to be looking for bottlenecks, sources of delay, rework that may be due to errors, role ambiguity. So are there a couple people doing the same thing? Is one person not really sure if they do this all the time? Those kinds of things. Unnecessary duplications, long cycle time, is something taking longer than it should. Maybe there's lack of adherence to standards. Maybe sometimes they do requests for providers one way, maybe another time they do it another way. Okay, maybe there's, oh, that's just say lack of information. I will change that. Lack of quality controls or inefficient workplace layout. So are there things that would make the process go smoother by just maybe moving something like a computer or copier or what have you? Okay, all right. So once you've identified those areas of opportunity, you're going to develop a 2 to 3 page double-spaced report addressing. You're going to first give a brief explanation of the process you chose to analyze and why you selected it. You're going to explain how you conducted your analysis of the as-is process and the findings or and your areas of opportunity. So when you talk about the how you conducted your analysis, talk about the individuals you spoke with, but also going back up here, observing 3 to 5 episodes of the process. For each major way, it can vary. So talk about that and what you observed, okay? And then the last one is share your thoughts on how the identified areas of opportunity could be remedied and how your solution could improve the process. Now, I want to say I don't expect you to identify a bottleneck, a source of delay, a rework due to error. I don't want you to identify one of each of these things. That would probably be impossible. But I would say, you know, 1 to 2, but maybe that area issue is a big issue. You know, maybe you're like right off the bat, you're like, this is a huge issue. And so maybe you write all about that. So just kind of, you know, break it down. And I just don't want you to think that you have to find all of these areas of opportunity for this one little workflow, okay? All right, and then of course, here is the rubric. Make sure you take a look at that and review that carefully. And then I'm going to share a different page quickly here. So then on our template for that final report, we are going to, this is how I have it looking right now. For this workflow analysis section, I'm going to title it Workflow Diagram of Continuity of Care ROI Requests, and then my process analysis report, which is that 2 to 3 page report. Okay, pretty straightforward, I think, but if you have questions, of course, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Consider your workflow diagram carefully when you're doing it. I'm going to be looking for detail. I'm going to be looking for professionalism in how it looks. And one last thing I was just thinking about as well is maybe there's an actual workflow that your site mentor has that they need help with. I mean, if it wouldn't hurt to ask them, you know, to say, hey, is there something I can help you with? This is part of my report. So in a sense, it's kind of another little project, but also a way to maybe help them in the end as well is by asking them if they have an idea for you that maybe isn't huge. And of course, we don't want to take 20 hours, but definitely ask them if there's something that would be helpful versus you just kind of like randomly picking a process. Okay? All right, have a great day and more to come tomorrow.